Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We're here today to discuss aged care employer-sponsored PR pathway. So our registered migration agent is Mr. 𝐂𝐚𝐤𝐢𝐻 or Zach Zhao. He will be discussing aged care PR pathway sponsorship. Just a bit of disclaimer. This content of the webinar is for information purposes only. We do not advise you to act based on the material contained in this presentation without obtaining advice relevant to your individual circumstances or situations. So it must be best to seek professional advice from migration agents. So I will give the mic to Sir Zach to discuss the following slides.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, can you guys hear us? Can we do a mic test? It will be awkward if you can't hear me. Can anyone hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. I was thinking we were talking to ourselves. Yeah, okay. So I will give you sorry, I will describe the new aged care labor agreement. If you have questions, you can drop it in the chat box, or you can ask the questions use your Mac, or we can discuss the questions afterwards. Feel free. We want to have this flexible format. So let's start. We're running a little late already. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zach. I'm a migration agent working for Asia Pacific Group. We have a few offices across Australia and overseas. We've been doing in this business for more than 10 years, actually more than 15 years. Yeah, and we are in Melbourne, Australia, and this is where head office is, but we have many different offices. Just check our website for more information. Today we want to discuss the relatively new aged care labor agreement. So if you guys are familiar with Australian migration system, you might know the 482 or TSS visa. That's the employer sponsored visa. And TSS usually is a standard sponsored visa, but sometimes department can negotiate a labor agreement with somebody, some authority or some body, and to customize their needs. For example, we have a few labor agreements, most famously 𝐏𝐻𝐤𝐚 program, the regional 𝐏𝐻𝐤𝐚 program signed between the Home Affairs and the regional government. And it gives a lot of concessions in the regional body. And also there are a few labor agreements across the industry, including meat industry, I think it's on the line. Yeah, meat industry, advertising industry, aged care, fishing, agriculture, and on hire, pork, and restaurant premium dining. So these industries has stepped out and say, we have special needs and your standard business sponsorship does not cover it. And that's why we need a special or customized agreement with you. And that's called labor agreement. It's between the industry leader or industry stakeholder and the government, Austrian Home Affairs government. So the most recent one is the one we are talking about. It's aged care agreement, recently signed only a few months ago, and it's very the terms and conditions are very generous, if I may say, and it's becoming very popular. It is a very recent agreement, and it covers the 482, that's a TSS visa, 494, that's a regional sponsored visa, and it has a 196 permanent residency pathway. It covers 3 main occupation lists on the list: nursing support worker, personal care assistant, or aged or disability carer. So although it's called aged care agreement, it covers mainly the aged care and disability care industry. And if you are working as a PCA or aged care, a nurse support worker, as the aged care worker and disability care worker, you can be benefit from this agreement. It's don't be confused by the name. It's not limited to aged care worker. And all these experiences we mentioned here are somewhat, to some level, interchangeable. So if you've been working as a disability care worker, you can also claim to some extent that you work as a aged care for the claim the experience. So this is how it is done. So this is the additional requirement part. Sorry, there's someone with their Mac open and it's kind of noisy. Please just mute yourself for now. If you have questions, type in the box, and we will allow you Mac. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing about labor agreement is that it's not something you can sign with the Home Affairs Department. You have to this page. You need to find an employer who has the it's called Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. This is the term you are going to hear a lot during this process. And this is the agreement between your employer or your potential employer and one of the 3 unions. There are only 3 unions at the moment are authorized to enter this MOU and sort of endorse the labor agreement. That's Australian Nursing and Midwife Federation, Health Service Union, and United Workers Union. In my personal experience, the Health Service Union is the best in replying emails. I guess the other 2 are too busy, but Health Service Union are very warming and quick with replying emails, give information, and with most helpful assistance. So that's a place to start. So what does it mean by Memorandum of Understanding? It is an agreement by one of these 3 unions and your employer or your future employer. The unions will assess your employer and they will dictate terms and conditions. For example, they will ask your employers to treat the existing employees well, give them enough hours, give them a flexible roster, and give them a support. For example, if they need further education, or if they need family support, there will be a reasonable terms and conditions for the existing workers. And they need to diversify in their hiring. For example, they need to commit to hire enough Aboriginal people, elderly people, and people in different culture groups. So if your employer is inviting a union to say we want to enter this memorandum of understanding, they need to agree to these terms and conditions. And my understanding is they may be negotiable, but eventually they have to enter this agreement, and the employer need to take steps and meet the requirements. One of the key requirements in this memorandum of understanding is they have to expand labor market testing. I think a lot of you understand what labor market testing is. You need to post advertisement and try to recruit local employees before overseas employees. But for this, they have expanded the labor market testing with additional requirements. Some of them are already mentioned. For example, they have to offer full-time hours to existing employees. They have to have a predictable roster. For example, you cannot throw me at different time each week. It has to be predictable. I see some questions. I will finish this page and I will answer the questions for now, and then we will move forward. Let me just finish this page. And they have to have also, it's very funny. Look at the number 2, they need a predictable roster, and they also want flexible working arrangements. This is for the people who has a family obligation or education duties or other things. They also have to offer flexible working arrangements. So it's more of a individual negotiable with the union, negotiated terms with the union, and they have to limit on agency staff. So the union will give a percentage. For example, you have to limit your hours to agency staff to a certain level. This is because the union has no control of the agency staff. They simply don't like it. They want every employee to be hired directly by your employer. So they have more power, but also it's more practical. and they have to engage a new cohort of workers. That's what I said. They have to diversify, including Aboriginal, First Nation people, and elderly, and also in different cultural groups. So let's visit the questions. So before the MOU is signed, they have to where is it? Sorry, can you? Yeah. Before the MOU is signed, you need to the employer needs to agree to this expanded labor market testing, and they have to go through this. Okay, let's go through some questions. Is there a list of employer available to check if they joined MOUs? No, not at the moment. It's not publicly listed, but this is public information, but it's not available yet, as far as I know. I think if you contact the union, they will give you a list, but it's not, far as I know, it's not on any website yet. And if you look at the other industries example, there won't be, because some of the employers may not want to publish their name onto any website. So there won't be a list. Next, can you please give us any details? How can we direct us job opportunities, directly assist for job opportunities? Sorry, I don't understand this question. Can you please give us any details? How can we directly assist for job opportunities? I guess you just need to reach out in the industry and build a tie to the industry. If you have been studying in Australia, usually schools will provide some support, helping you finding the jobs, and they will provide some level of internship, and that's a good starting point. And also 𝐏𝐻𝐚.com.au, that applies to everyone. This is also true. And when you try to look for jobs, you do ask them, do you have a labor agreement available, to maximize your chance. What happens if we have previous disability care work experience? Will this be taken into considerations? Yes, if you have previous disability care work experience, it will be taken into consideration, providing that you are able to find evidence for your experience. I will discuss the experience your experience or your requirement later, later in this presentation. What happens when can you assist in finding an employer for us? Not at the moment. We are contacting a few employers, and if they have need, we already say if you need more employees, you contact us. Okay, we do have a few employers looking for jobs, looking for more employees, but it's not in our regular service. It's just sometimes it's not guaranteed or part of our regular service. Can we start with certificate 4, or do we need acquire a certificate 3 first? Can we be sponsored with no postgraduate experiences? That's a very good question. I will discuss this later. That's the whole point of this labor agreement, because it's the requirement for your question is actually much easier than a standard sponsorship. I leave the best to the last. Let's move to the next page, please. Yeah. So when they negotiate the MOU with the unions, they need to meet further requirements. They need to list all the recruitment plans in the next 5 years with a breakdown. For example, next year we want to recruit how many? Next year we want to recruit the year after we want to recruit how many? It indicates that this is the arrangement usually for large employers. If they say 1111, the union may not be able to reach a very attractive agreement with you. So this and my observation says that usually this is more favorable to large players or main players in the industry, and they can probably say, next year we plan to recruit 50. The year after we want to recruit 70, and we are big players, so it's easier for them to negotiate a favorable terms with the unions. They also in the sorry. There are some concessions. That's the attractive part for the labor agreement. So in the nomination, when they apply, they know they don't need to do another LMT, that's the labor market testing, because in the MOU, in the memorandum, when signing the memorandum, they have already signed the agreement to do the expanded labor market testing. So according to the department policy, they will not assess labor market testing again, which is a good news because as many of you know, labor market testing will take at least 28 days. If you have a visa expiring soon, it can be very annoying. So this is a very important thing when you plan your visa. It means that the eligible employer will be able to file for nomination and visa application in a few days notice if needed. And there will be pathways to PR, permanent residency, usually under standard sponsorship. These occupations we mentioned, aged care workers, disability care workers, PCAs, they are not, they don't have PR pathways under standard sponsorship. But because we are signing a labor agreement, they opened the PR pathway after 2 years of serving the same employer on the nomination. And department also promised to fast track the processing of these visas. But I'm just saying, department has promised a lot of times for fast track. Sometimes they are very good, and we can tell the difference. Sometimes not so much. So let's wait and see in the future. So last thing, hang on, next page. Oh, sorry, just 1 second. Yeah, and there are some other concessions in the labor agreement that applies to the applicants, which is very important. Oh, that's the most attractive part for us. So the first thing is I'm answering the previous question. For the qualification and experience, you don't need both. You just need a certificate 3 in relevant qualification. You don't even need a certificate 4. So to answer the question, you don't need a certificate 4 at all. Just enroll a certificate 3 and finish it. It will be a 1-year course, 12-month course. Once you finish it, you are eligible to be sponsored. Or alternatively, if you have more than 12 months of full-time experience, I'm answering a question previous question. If you have 12 months work experience and in the industry, work aged care, disability care, PCA or nurse assistant, you can claim that 12-month full-time experience, and you can be eligible for this labor agreement arrangement. That's to me, that's the most beneficial part of this whole agreement, because you can just finish a 1-year study, or if you have experience, you can go ahead. And in their policy, they don't even ask for Australian qualification or Australian experience. If you have overseas experience or overseas qualification, you can do the assessment. You can be assessed, and if they say you are okay, you'll be fine to take this sponsorship. And the next thing is the salary concession. Salary concession is actually allowing lower salary worker to be sponsored. At the moment, the minimum salary for standard business sponsorship is at $70,000 plus superannuation. It will be challenging for most of the aged care workers and disability care workers. That's why there is a concession here. I think the number is $51,222. I don't know how they reached this number. So it's 51,222 or the market salary, whichever is higher. So it's way more friendly than 70,000 plus superannuation, and it's much more approachable by the employers. And next thing is the English concession. So unlike the 482 standard sponsorship, which requires 6.0, for this arrangement, you just need 5.0 in each band for the 5.0 overall for the English test, or equivalent in PTE test. And if you are serving a particular language community, for example, if you are a Mandarin speaker and you're serving Chinese community, the requirement is even lowered to 4.5. And if the memorandum of understanding says you are serving a age group in a lower than language group, you can just get 4.5 and meet the English requirement. And there is no skill level requirement. It can be any skill level as long as you are working as aged care worker, disability care worker. Unfortunately, there is no age concession, so the permanent residency requirement is still at 45 years of age, which means that you need to enter the pathway at least from 43 by the latest, and then you can have the permanent residency pathway. And I don't think they are going to introduce age concession into this program in the near future. So as a recap, this arrangement has additional requirements for the employer. They need to contact the union and get the union to agree to a memorandum of understanding. And if they have this additional requirement met, the employee, that's you, the applicants, you have a lot of concessions. The most noticeably, the skill or qualification requirement is much lowered. In comparison, the standard business sponsorship requires relevant qualification plus 2 years relevant experience. In this agreement, you just need a relevant qualification of certificate 3 or a 1-year experience. And a lot of people are having 408 visa in Australia. It's very reasonable to have 12-month experience anyway. So I think it cannot get any better for this part. And also the English requirement is very friendly. So that's why it is a very popular visa program to look into. So that's the end of the information session. I'm open the stage to questions. Do we have any questions? We will unmute all the mics, and you can ask questions if you want. How to unmute the mic? Sorry. Mute. I think. Yeah. Okay. I think everyone will have the mic. Ask. Can you guys talk? Yeah, in any event, you can also text your questions here. Let's go through the text box first. I'm hearing from officials saying aged care is not happy to join the union. Okay, this is between the employer and the union, but as a general rule, usually they're not happy to join any of the unions. The union is pushing to it because once they join union, they need to meet a lot of terms and conditions. They need to hire a counsel to answer legal questions, and they are more likely to get sued. So they are not happy to join union, but this is an arrangement to get them more employees. It's not something they want, but this is something they have to do. Otherwise, there's a shortage. They can't find the employees. This is the way for them to find the employees. So they are very likely to compromise. But to answer your question, no employers or no companies really like a union. If they say they do, they are lying. I have a graduate with a aged care and community care level 3, and I'm working. How can I apply? You need to find an employer who is already entered this agreement with the union, or if they are willing to enter this agreement with union. As a general rule, as mentioned before, the bigger players are more likely to be unified, and they are more likely to be able to afford these terms and conditions. Question: is there a minimum salary for sponsored aged care workers? Yes, that's the number 51,222. That's the yes, $51,222. Yeah, $220. That's the minimum wage. Or if the market salary is higher, it can be higher. But to answer your questions, the absolutely minimum is $51,222 per year. What are the chances to find the sponsor under the agreement? It sounds like too easy to be true. No, I never said it was easy. I said it's the sponsor will have to meet a lot of additional requirements. It's I'm not too sure about each employer's appetite to enter this agreement. I know that bigger players are more likely to join this agreement because the recruitment need is higher for them, and the cost for each hiring will be lower, but it's not easy. You still need to find an employer who's willing to join the labor agreement. we are assisting a few employers. I cannot disclose their names, but we are assisting a few employers to their way. We point them to the right union and hook them up with the union officers, and they are negotiating the terms in the to reach the memorandum. Once they reach the memorandum, the next part is actually much easier. I can say that for the applicants, it's much easier. When first time I heard the news, I actually went to the department website because it does look too easy. But then again, the hard part is to find an employer who's willing to sponsor you. Can preschool teacher with a diploma in early childhood education accredited in Australia apply for aged care? It's not highly relevant. So you still need a aged care related qualification or aged care related work experience for 12 months. If you are in Australia, you are likely to be able to apply for 408 visa with 12-month full-time work permission. Just find a job as an aged care worker, work for 12 months, and then you can go for it. Most agencies live and die with just the casual workers. Yes, you are right. That's how the industry works, and a lot of casual workers are from the on-hire agencies, so they subcontract their agencies. But that's why the industry, the union wants to change, because this is less regulated and a lot of people are not treated well. So union is trying to change this. They signed the agreement to attract more people, more employers to join the union agreement. Please elaborate eligibility and requirements for Fiji nationals. There is no, it's not national, nation divided. So each nationals will have the same requirements. So for English, concession to 5.0 or 4.5, if you are in the same language group. And for requirements, Cert 3 or 1 year experience, under 45 years of age, and that's it. Salary, yeah, salary 51,222. That's the salary. That's the requirements. For the employer, it's not. It has nothing to do with the nationality. Hello, can you please advise if the aged care job has come to the skill occupation list for the Australian government? Yes, but it's only under this aged care agreement. If you are seeking standard sponsorship, you have to use other occupations. Aged care workers, aged care support workers, personal care support workers, those occupations are covered by this agreement. Yes, I can confirm. This is the purpose of this labor agreement. But if you are seeking standard business sponsorship, you need to find some other occupation within skill level 1, 2, or 3. And how is work disability support worker? It works just fine for disability support worker. As I said, the name of this agreement is aged care agreement, but it covers disability care worker just exactly the same. If you are having an employer, they can enter this agreement and then they can sponsor you. Requirement is the same, Cert 3 or 12 months experience. What do you advise to do after the Certificate 3 if I can't find a sponsorship graduate? After graduation, apply for another student visa. At the moment, you may be able to use 408. That's the what we usually call pandemic visa, but later on maybe student visa. As a general rule, you will need more time to stay in Australia and with a work permission, so you can be employed. So just find some visa that can give you work permission in Australia. If you're not sure, just contact us and we will try to find the right way or best way for you. As a general rule, at the moment, 408 visa is the best. I have certificate disability. Do I need sponsorship from the employer? Yes, this is called labor agreement. So you will need a sponsorship. You cannot apply for a visa without some sponsorship, some level of sponsorship. And you will need a sponsor who's entered a union agreement. It's called a memorandum of understanding. Otherwise you will need to find other ways. For example, become a disability nurse to find pathways. Please support the fight. The total cost, at the moment, I cannot give you a exact cost because I don't know your a lot of things. For example, your visa history, your family structure, your employer's status, and also your visa history. So For this visa, it's the cost is the standard business sponsorship visa fee. If you're looking at a visa application fee, it's you can check the department website. It's exactly the same. And for our fee, we can give you a quote when you contact us. We can give you a quote in writing, and you have to do the math and give you an estimate of cost in the individual consultation. Please support finder employers. Yes, we are working with some employers, and if we have any leads or if we have any employers, we will refer our clients to them. That's, of course, we want to do that. But at the moment, because this is a new thing, a lot of employers are still negotiating the memorandum of understanding. So our resource is very limited. I've been well honest with you. If we have any opportunity, we will refer to our clients, most likely in a first in, first served basis. There are 3 visas, 494, 482, and 86 for this 𝐏𝐻 visa. What are the conditions for the different visas? So 482 is when you are sponsored by the employer, by the business sponsorship. 494 is when you are sponsored by the regional government. It's more likely more similar to the Dharma arrangement. You get sponsored by the regional government when they think, okay, we need you as a 𝐏𝐻 worker, and then you can apply for the visa. But for the 494 visa, when you ask conditions for the 482 visa, you need to be sponsored by the employer who has entered the agreement with the union. And once you have this visa, you need to work for the same employer for at least 2 years, then turn it into a 186 visa. That's the permanent residency visa. Once you get a permanent residency visa, you are PR, you don't have any conditions. For the 494 visa, once you have this visa, you need to work in the same region, and you also have to work for the same employer during the process, and then for 2 years, and then you can work for you can get a 186, or not necessarily 186, maybe 187 visa, and then get a permanent residency. So the difference is for the 482, just stick to the same employer, but for the 494, you have to stick to the same employer and in the same area. You cannot relocate to the metropolitan area. That will breach your 494 visa condition. So it has more requirements in the visa conditions, but it also, once again, it also has more benefits, more concessions that we can talk to. If you have any leads to 494 visa or 482 visa, just drop us an email or phone call, and we will do an individual assessment. It's way more complicated for this session. What about family members visa if employed contact us? Family members visa. So for this visa, if the employer is willing to sponsor, all your family members will be covered under the same visa, and they will get the same permanent residency. For family members, it's your spouse. Usually, it's your spouse and your kids under 18 or under 23 if they are still full-time students and not married elsewhere. So in other words, your dependent children. So your dependent children and your spouse will be covered under the same visa, and they can get a permanent residency just as when you do. Until when is COVID visa available? That's a good question. Nobody knows. I'm not sure if the department has a plan. I haven't heard any confirmed news say when they are going to close the 408 visa. There was a very big wave of rumors saying 1st of July, but it didn't happen. So I'm not too sure. But as it is a COVID related visa, so I believe it can be closed anytime in the near future. So don't count on it if you need a visa next year, but in the next few weeks, I think we are still good. If I didn't study aged care, but I have 4 years disability swallow experience, does it count? Yes, that's what I'm saying. You just need the experience or qualification. You don't need both. And you need 1 year full-time relevant experience. You don't even need 4 years. So I think you, from what you said to me, I think you're definitely eligible. Does the diploma of enrolled nurse allow us to be? Yes, diploma of enrolled nurse is is a qualification highly relevant and higher than the minimum requirement. So I believe this diploma enrolled nurse is going to enable you to be considered as a PCA or aged care worker. But then again, with your qualification, you can be an enrolled nurse and you have access to other pathways like a standard business sponsorship, providing you have the experience. So you have a graduate from a diploma of enrolled nurse has more options than a aged care worker, aged care certificate 3 graduate. What do you exactly offer? We offer migration assistance. So we offer assisting you to we offer the paperwork. We offer assessment with your employer. Say we can tell you if your employer is eligible or not, if you are eligible or not. If you are not eligible, we can tell you what's missing and what you can do to make yourself eligible. Then once everything is checked, we offer to assist you in making the nomination and the visa application. Which is the best state for aged care opportunities? Do you recommend moving regional? For this agreement, for the topic today, labor agreement, there is no requirement for regional. And there it's not state divided. It has nothing to do with the state. It's the employer divided. So if you can find an employer, you can always be sponsored. But my understanding is that I'm not too sure about this. I'm not expert, but from my observation, I saw a lot of people being hired and there from Queensland. No idea why. Queensland and some in the Northern Territory. I'm not recommending you to go anywhere. I'm saying there might be some opportunities over there. It might worth checking the seek.com.au. But you don't have to go to regional for this arrangement. And in fact, more employers are operating in the metropolitan area because it's easier to arrange transportation. So I believe there are more opportunities in metropolitan areas. It's very effective. Thank you very much. Thank you for your appreciation. Can I not include my family member in the visa application? But once the visa is available, can I apply for the family members to come over to Australia? Yes, you can. When you apply for the initial visa, I do recommend you or highly recommend you to mention your family. So at least just say I have a wife or I have a husband, I have these kids. They are not included in this application, but I do have family members. And later on, you can add them. You need approval from your sponsor because they need to extend their sponsorship. They just need to write a letter saying we extend our sponsorship to our employee's family, and then you can apply and they can come. It's a very straightforward service. I worked with employer 2 years ago and accumulated lots of hours there, and then I stopped and worked for myself. If I join the same company again, can I apply for 2 visa, but then from the past experience? And so for the standard business, standard business sponsorship, they're required to have at least 2 years in the recent 5 years. For the labor agreement, the requirement in wording is 12-month experience. So I hope that answers your question. So if you want to do the standard business sponsorship, you need to find 2 years experience. If you want to do the labor agreement, you have to make sure that the sponsor has entered or intend to enter an agreement with the union to make them eligible. But if I already have 1 year experience from that employer, you can still apply. But if you are going back to the same employer, you need to make sure that the employer is eligible from the MOU memorandum. What is the average fee enroll in a certificate 3? Sorry, I'm not the best person to answer this question. I spend my time with the migration side. Do we know what kind of cost?
I think around $6,000.
Thanks very much. Bianca is I work with Bianca, and she's the expert working with the schools. And according to her advice, it's $6,000 to $7,000 for certificate 3. yes, 63. And I can tell you it's usually a 12-month course. Overseas qualifications, diploma or degree in nursing, a required skill assessment to work in the aged care industry, to work as a support worker. Is this correct? No, it's not required. As a matter of fact, the skill assessment itself is not required. If you have 12-month experience, you can claim that experience and use it to meet the requirement. But if you have only the overseas qualification, that's the scenario, the skill assessment will be required. If you don't have Australian qualification and you don't have 12 months of work experience, in that scenario only, you will require a skill assessment. And that's also not, it's not a full skill assessment. They are only assessing your qualification. There's since we are talking about this, the skill assessing body is not the 3 unions we mentioned before. They authorized another 2 bodies, 2 authorities to do this skill assessment. One is AMAC, that's the midwife and nursing body authority, and the other one I don't remember on top of my head. If you do a consultation, I can tell you, but there will be different assessing authorities. If you only have overseas experience without qualification, that's without experience, that's the only scenario you will require a overseas skill assessment. How about if you work for yourself in the disability sector for 2+ years? Is that that's, in theory, yes, you can, but then you need to prove that you've been working for 2 years as a full-time employees. Usually, to prove the employment, you need 2 things. One is your work certificate.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, there's an echo. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so hello. Yeah, Trinity Migration Solution. Yeah, okay. Trinity, okay, so yeah, you're welcome to join anyway. So if you so where was I? But oh yeah, to evidence your employment. So what you can do is you need to provide a work certificate to prove that your capacity was as a aged care worker, and you also need to provide pay slips or evidence of pay. So if you are working for yourself, I assume you were working as a subcontractor. You need to find your contractor and find this work certificate, and also you need to collect your pay slips or the bank statements to show that you were paid during that 2 years. Migration Solution. Hello, you're welcome. Sorry, I didn't hear you properly. Sorry, what was the question? iPhone to everyone. Yes, I hope I answered your question now. So let me just repeat. You can claim experience if you are self-employed, providing that you can provide a work certificate and pay evidence of pay. It's standard, and you need to provide at least 52 weeks of full-time experience to be eligible. What visa should I apply for? At this stage, if you are applying for the labor agreement visa, it's the 482 sponsorship visa on the labor agreement stream. If you are talking about getting a visa to meet the agreement, meet the requirement, for example, you need to study or you need to get a work experience, you need to contact us and do a one-on-one session, and we can advise you. We can give you some ideas on how to get a visa. Thanks, Zach. Oh, hi. Thanks. Nice to see you here. How can we find the employers to sponsor? You need to reach out to the industry, and seek.com.au is a place to start. And also, if you have school connection, they usually have internship placements, and also your friends or your co-workers. Last thing is, if we have any opportunities, we'll recommend our clients to them. But as I said earlier today, this is a rather new thing. So we are helping some employers to reach their agreement or a memorandum of understanding, but at the moment the spots are very limited. In the future, we are hoping that we can offer more opportunities to our clients, and we are more than happy to help you for this PR pathway. Do we have any other questions? So we can pass the skill assessment with no experience, but only the. Yes, it's not as if you have a skill set. Sorry, if you have a qualification inside Australia, you don't need a skill assessment. The qualification itself is fine. If you have an overseas qualification, they need to know that it is equivalent of Australian qualification. That's why they need to do a skill assessment and make sure that it is equivalent to Australian standard. And according to the policy and the information available to us, it clearly reads that you need to have qualification or experience. It doesn't say you need both. So hopefully that answers your question. Do you consider volunteer experience as PCA? No, if you are not paid, it's not employed. The requirement is not experience. The requirement is employment history. And if you are not paid, it's not employed. It's not employment, and that cannot be qualified. So you need to get. That's why I said earlier, you definitely need to find evidence of your salary, either pay slips, bank statement, tax return, superannuation. There are many different formats, but you need to provide evidence to persuade them that you've been worked and paid for at least 12 months. Sorry, 12 months. Yes, 52 weeks as full-time employee. Do you consider volunteer? Yeah, I answered that question. Any other questions? Thank you for the information session. Can you do a session about diploma of enrolled nurse, please? We will take your feedback, and I will report to our managements and see if we will eventually. This is one of the topics we definitely want to cover, because we have a very deep client base with India and Filipino clients. So we definitely want to cover this topic, but what I don't know is how soon we will cover this. So stay tuned. And if you look at this page, this is our contact information. You can reach out to any of these offices and drop your email, drop an email or text message or a phone call. We're more than happy to answer your questions. And if you have any questions, do contact us. Once again, these sessions is not individual advice. I'm only providing general advice. And if you have any questions, do contact us and get individual tailored assistance. And for the promotion period, at the moment we have a promotion. So if you ask any aged care related questions, we will arrange a consultation for free. I don't know when this promotion will end, but for now it's going to be for free. So by all means, reach out to us. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offices in Australia and overseas. So yeah, come to us, ask questions, and we're more than happy to help you and find your permanent residency solutions. I missed the question. I worked 6 months in an employer and 6 months for myself. Can we combine? Yes, you can combine this, but you need to get the 2 different pay slips, 2 sets of pay slips, and 2 different employer reference letters, because one if you are directly employed by employer, you get a work certificate or a statement of service. But if you are working for yourself, you need to get a certificate from your subcontractor, your contractor, that might be a separate entity. Do you give French French speaker? I'm sorry, at the moment we don't have English only at the moment. Sorry. Also, when you say work certificate, does it mean the contract you do? No, it has to be a certificate as on top of the contract. If you come to us, I can provide you with a template. The contract itself is not going to cover, because you may end the contract prematurely. It doesn't mean you have covered a 12-month period, but a certificate of work will say how long have you been working to that for that employer and at what capacity. That will be required. I can provide you a template if you contact us. if you are currently in Australia applying for 482, do you have to leave Australia? No, you don't have to. In most cases, unless you have a visa refusal and not have a substantive visa, or you have the no further stay condition, in most cases you can apply for this visa and wait out the period, wait for the decision inside Australia. What is the success in lodging labor agreement? How long processing time with the department? The labor agreement, if you are referring to the memorandum of understanding, I don't have enough data because they are still negotiating with the unions. If we are talking about labor agreement visa application, department has already promised that it's going to be fast tracked. So I would say 1 or 2 months at the moment. Later on, it may be slightly longer with more applicants. Do you provide assistance with labor agreement? No, we don't. We provide assistance with nomination and visa application. For labor agreement, we can assist to some extent to the employer. We can tell them what to do, but they have to negotiate the memorandum by themselves, or they can find their employment lawyer to assist them. But we don't act on their behalf in this negotiation. Thank you very much. You're welcome. We are very welcome. MOU means a memorandum of understanding. It's signed between the employer, your employer, and the unions. The 3 unions we covered previously. If you're not sure, just contact us. I can give you more details. And I can also give you the contact information of these 3 unions. So that's the starting point to negotiate this MOU. So to answer your question, it's between your employer and the union. Once it's signed, the employer will be able to hire people under this labor agreement. Bridging visa A student visa refusal case in federal. When you say federal, I assume it's federal court or federal circuit court. Can we apply you can apply for the nomination, and once you have the nomination approved, you can apply for a bridging visa B, go overseas and apply for the visa application and come back on bridging visa B. Fee, as I said, union fee is not something you need to pay, and I don't believe the union needs to charge your employer directly. I think the terms and the conditions are separate. From what I can read, the terms and the conditions are separate from the union fee, and it's negotiated individually based on the size, complexity of the operation. And it's not a universal fee, and I cannot advise you here. But for the visa application fee, as I said before, that's the standard 482 visa application fee. You can check the website. It's different based on your visa history, your size of the family, and yeah, pretty much. So you will need to calculate. If you're not sure, come to us. We'll calculate for you, and we can also provide you a quote for our service fee. And please answer, can disability support worker experience work count or not? Yes, they count. As I said, this is very confusing. This agreement is called aged care agreement, but it covers disability care industry entirely. So it counts, and you can use the same agreement and get the your organization, if they enter this memorandum, they can also sponsor you under this agreement. It's totally fine. If you don't have any other questions, we will end this session shortly. So by all means, if you have questions, ask quickly. But don't worry, if you have questions after this, just reach out to us. We will arrange individual sessions with you. And is there any more questions? 1 second. No. Anyway, thank you guys. We are very overwhelmed by the feedback. You guys are the best. Yeah, and by all means, do contact us. We're more than happy to help. And this is a new and exciting area that we can help the clients. We are happy and excited to be able to help you. So I wish all you guys a good evening and a good weekend. I'll see you guys around. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.